Welcome everybody to the First Name Basis podcast. This is where we bring on digital innovators to talk about what's happening of the day. My name is Shel. I'm your host, and I am so happy to have some very, very smart people from our tribe here at TribalScale join me for this special edition. November 2nd made our 5-year anniversary here at TribalScale, and we thought it'd be really cool for us to talk a little bit about what we've been doing and some of our trials and tribulations and our lessons learned over the past 5 years. So welcome everyone. Why don't we start off with a round of intros? Alfie, you want to kick it off?
Sure. Yeah, so Alfie here, Director of Engineering at TribalScale. I joined a little over 2 years ago, and it's been quite a journey.
Awesome. Jason, why don't you go next? Let's stick to the engineering theme.
Yep, Jason Mills, Engineering Director. Also been over here been at TribalScale for a little bit over 2 years as well. So.
Elsa, you want to give us some creative juice here?
I will try my best. I'm Elsa Blair. I'm the design manager here at TribalScale. I've been here for just over a year now, and my background is mostly in financial technologies.
Cool. Tina?
Yeah, my name is Tina Johnson. I'm the HR coordinator here and the, only HR advisor at TribalScale. And I've been here for about a year now.
Awesome. And last but not least, my partner in crime, who was crazy enough to start this journey with me from day zero. Rich, introduce yourself.
Hey, Rich Gigante, business development, product, operations, kind of a whole bunch of stuff. I have been here for 5 years on our 5-year anniversary. So started out with 7 people in a room in a small accounting office and talking to anybody we could to figure out who we're going to work for. So it's been a long ride and fun, lots of fun.
Lots of fun. So Rich, let's talk a little bit about the history and how we got here. You were a client of mine. So
it was.
Instead of me telling the story, why don't you tell the story about like how I approached you and like what happened?
Well, yeah. So I was at ESPN for a long time doing mobile development. That's where Shel and I first met, and he was barking at the door for a year or two trying to figure out how to build stuff for ESPN when he was at Extreme Labs. And then I went over to iHeart, and we had a whole bunch of work. I think it was Chromecast work at the time, which was pretty new.
Chromecast.
Yeah, it was pretty new technology, and building stuff for it was not very common. So reached out to Shel. He came in as Extreme Labs. By the time we signed the deal, they were Pivotal Labs, which is pretty funny, like halfway through the paperwork. But that's where we started working together. We've known each other for a couple years before that, and of course doing the fun CES and Mobile World Congress conferences and just hooking up. So we were friendly before my
epic New York City dinners that I always
the New York City dinners, which we continued as Tribe, for sure, the Innovator Dinner. And then we were there. I was there for 2 years or so at iHeart, and Shel sent me a note saying, "Hey, I'm starting this new cool thing." And I said, "Hey, I'm looking at some cool new thing." And next thing I know, I was sitting in Toronto for the first time in my life, talking to Shel and a couple of other folks about what this thing called TribalScale is and what project services is and how we do it and what the plan was, and went from there. That was it. Never been in this space before. You know, I hired folks. I tell people all the time, I was on the other side of the table for a decade. Now I'm on this side of the table. Amazingly, though, I've been on this side of the table for 5 years now, which is crazy. It's a long time.
Well, it's not only that, but see, when you sit on this side of the table, it's almost that you have to go to the other side of the table to help your clients out, right? Like,
well, that's right.
Hey, I've been in your shoes. I got to help you out. One of the things I know when Rich and I first met to talk about TribalScale, I remember we were in New York City and we were talking about, what the opportunities are. And the one thing that really like stuck out to us was the enterprise just struggles to build technology. They struggle from strategy. They struggle with design. They definitely struggle with development. And when we started talking about our methodologies and what we can do to bring a unique offering to help our prospective customers at that time, show them how we can bring them capital efficiency and help them build internal capabilities. That was really the sticking point where we were like, hey, there's absolutely a large need for this out in the market. So having said that, you know, Alfie, you've been like a process junkie over here at TribalScale, and you really like hammer down on our cadences all the time. Why don't you talk like to our listeners a little bit about our cadences and what our process actually means when we go to deliver 5-star digital products?
Yeah, and of course, feel free to jump into anyone with anything. But yeah, we do have a strict cadence that we follow. It's I guess we can call it the TribalScale way.
The DNA, or TribalScale DNA.
Yeah, the TribalScale way of doing delivering work. And I mean, I can go into a lot of it is inspired by extreme programming, and it is in, I guess the spirit of it is in making sure that things are done properly. Like we make sure that we take care of, and that it takes into account, I guess, like the team's psychology too, and also like what the needs of the users and the clients, bring that all together. I know it sounds a bit fluffy at this point, but to make it more concrete, why don't we list some examples, like the most tangible concrete cadences would be things like make sure we do retros, stand-ups every day, and also what else?
Well, we got our iteration planning meetings. We got story acceptance meetings, demos at the end of every week.
Demos, yeah. Which, they all sound like, like that's agile. Everyone hears of those terms, but they're a lot into how you do them, right? Like there's all these nuances into, like how to do story acceptance properly and how to do IPMs in the most effective way. All these things that matters too, I think.
Well, one of the things I know, just from a recent customer that we were just working with, they were so impressed by the way we write our stories, and they were like, "Oh my God, these stories are written in such a way that it's very easy for engineering to pick up and get done." And they started looking at their own internal processes and cadences, going, "No wonder my engineering doesn't get the output level that you guys get, because our stories are written in a way where our engineers consistently have to call meetings to even figure out what they need to build." So Elsa, let me bring it over to you. How important is the discovery portion of our business? I know you get involved in a lot of discoveries that we do. Not only are they product and strategy led, but they're very much so design led. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously I'm in design, so I am going to tell you this is the most important part of the process, understanding your users. I'm sure others would agree, but making sure you understand, what the product is supposed to do, what the motivations, needs, and goals of your users are, when they hit that app or when they're trying to actually complete a task is super important. And if you start solutioning before you kind of get the answers to those questions, you're going to end up with a product that is probably not useful for anyone. So discovery is a huge part of our process, and making sure that we are going to our clients' users especially is really important, because as an agency, we're that one step removed from those users. So making sure that we can really take in that data, talk to any users that we need to, and gain insights that will help drive the process and the approach and the strategy of the engagement is a huge component of what we do here at TribalScale, and I think we do it really, really well.
Yeah, for sure. I think it really goes to like our model where we say, we don't work for ourselves. We don't even work for our clients. What we actually do is work for a better future, and that's really customer, consumer oriented, right? Rich, Jason, I wanted you two to tag team a little bit. We get so many inquiries coming in on, we want to work with you guys, or hey, we've heard of you guys and we got a couple of problems. And you two have really been teaming up a lot on like what I'll call the pre-sale side of the business. What makes the right TribalScale customer? Like, what do you guys look for in the right customer? And when do you know the opportunity is right for someone to work with our organization?
You know, I think going back to like the scoping, like really flushing out like getting those questions out there that kind of help us figure out if the client wants to be open and transparent with which kind of goes right into like how we work with our cadence. Daily interaction with the customer is super important. Some customers do want to be more hands off, which is fine. But as long as we can kind of still go through that and make sure they're accepting and moving through the stories. So that's one of the things.
Yeah, how they want to work is important. It's always really important because we're never going to really be the company to come in, take a PRD or an RFP and say, okay, let's send this text document back over the fence, and Elsa's going to go build a 40-page document and send it over the fence, and then Jason's going to go build it and send code over the fence. That's just not how we're ever going to work, right? So we can tell pretty early on. Shel, I know you and I, being on the sales side for so long, can tell pretty early on, just from a personality and cultural perspective and just how people want to work, that they're going to be transparent and open. And that generally leads to a good working relationship in which everyone can sort of communicate openly about, hey, because projects are going to have issues always, right? And as long as you're open and transparent about it, it doesn't matter whose side of the fence the issue is coming from, in order to solve it, there needs to be transparency on both sides and the understanding that this is how projects get completed, right? So you can tell that pretty early on in the conversation of like, are we a good fit culturally? Are we a good fit personality wise? And then project wise, is it exciting for our team to work on? Is it something cool? Like, is it something that our engineers or our designers want to get amped up about and work on? Like, that's also important for, folks to be engaged and involved on both sides. So luckily we don't run into the issue where it's a boring project very often. Yeah. That's the good thing, right?
For sure. One of the things that our clients, I think, understand is that, hey, this has to be a win-win situation. We've actually turned down some work, which we take a look at and we say, hey, this is probably not going to be a fit. And that's not even coming from a place of arrogance. That just may be that customer's not ready for us, or they're just so stuck in their ways that this is not just going to be a good fit for how to build a 5-star digital product. And we're just going to say, hey, like this, that's fine. You could go on your way and do that. But, more often than not, we found the acceptance from our customers coming to us saying, hey, you guys are pros at this. You built, over 400 digital products, had hundreds of millions of users touch them every day. Let's listen to you. So Tina, let me go to you for a sec. When it comes to actually hiring here at TribalScale, you gotta I know Alfie calls us crazy mofos, but how do you what's that crazy mofo gene you look for in the people who come to, as you do screening on who makes up our tribe? Because it's not easy. We work so closely with customers that it's not just about building product. It really gets into how to work well with someone else. So what are some of the skill sets you look for when bringing people in?
I mean, you said best. I always look for smart and hungry folks. You don't necessarily have to be an expert in your tech stack, but somebody that's always going to be willing to learn, continuously learn, is so important. And also somebody that's going to be able to work well with the team, because we do pair programming. So those are two skill sets not really skill sets, but soft skills that I look for in candidates. It's just continuous learning, being very curious, and communication skills, being able to work well with people.
Jason, Alfie, talk to me a little bit about pair programming. You guys were new to pair programming when you came here, but now you guys beat the drum and get everyone else to beat the drum. So any one of you, jump on in. Talk to us a little bit about pair programming and what it means for our tribe.
Yeah, honestly, when I was first introduced to the idea, I mean, I've done pairing before in the past, but it's not usually 100%, right? It's like part of the time. And then when I first came across this idea of 100% pairing, frankly, I was a bit skeptical about it when I first joined, or even before I joined. But after talking to folks about it, I got, it started to, I mean, it made sense, the theory of it. And then as I start getting into it, I see the value in that in many ways. And even I start, as you mentioned, started teaching people about it. So yeah, I think it's important to be comfortable with conflict. It's the this term gets thrown around a lot in our team too, like the healthy friction. Right? I think that's how you call it, Shel. Like to have that healthy friction is, I think, is one part of pair programming. So yeah, there might be some conflicts, there might be some like little arguments going on, but the result of all of that, like when we come out of that, it's always ends up being a better product.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, right? Like that healthy friction allows better code and a better product to come out, because differences of opinions come together and then start to figure out what the best path forward is. Jason, what are some of the skills that you see work as you work on some transformation projects with us? How did pair programming work when you were pairing with our clients?
Well, you know, it's like the way to quickly level up someone and just kind of working. And you know, transformation isn't just about like the skills as well. It's kind of like about the attitude. So you know, there's the kind of the two things: the soft skills, the hard skills that you're kind of working on. So just being able to get that personal connection, and you might pair. And the cool thing about pairing is like you could pair super well with someone, and then you pair with someone else and it doesn't go so well, and that's totally fine. You know, it's everyone's different, and we get to kind of share those experiences. But at the end of the day, it's just a great way to level up, like in both those skill sets, you know.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Rich, we've had so many ups and downs in this organization. I'll give you the easier one. Over the past 5 years, what's one of the big ups that you've experienced here?
Oh man, 5 years has been a long time, but you know, there was a 1.5 to 2 year period of time, maybe a little bit longer even, where literally every single month was another massive client coming on board. And it was a really exciting time. It was a crazy ride. We were hiring more people than we have today daily, kind of. It was, you know, you remember, Shel, we were hiring like 10, 15 people a week, and you couldn't even keep track of like who was coming and going.
Being such personable people, it was eye-opening. Like we know everybody on a first name basis, just like this podcast is called. But then you hit this point where you're like, oh my God, I don't even know half the people's names who work here right now.
Yeah, and you know, I'm in New York, right? So I would fly into Toronto like once a month or every 6 weeks, and there was a period where I would fly in. We were in a new office building for the third time in what, 1.5 years or so, something like that. Massive building, going, this thing's huge. But then you walked in and it was 3/4 full already. It's like, what is happening here? Yeah. And like, it was great. I mean, I had a whole bunch of clients that I probably had 60 or 70 folks working on just my stuff alone. And it was just a really exciting time, because, you know, when you have that many clients going, you're also just launching things all the time. There's new products going out the door all the time. So there's always like a celebratory dinner happening with the client because we launched something new and cool, or, you know, or someone's closing a deal. And it was exciting. It's funny though.
It's birthday, and like we all just want to go out and have fun together.
Yeah, just a happy hour would have, you know, 20, 30 people at it. But it's funny because that's, you know, when you start to get to that big, also you start to lose track of, hey, that's a big deal, right? You could sign a $500,000 deal or something like that and just go, it's just another $500,000 deal. Whereas when you're smaller and starting, right, you were like, dude, that's like a $5,000 deal. Like, let's go get it, you know? Like, and I like being in that space where you're like, let's go get it. That's what got us there, right? Everyone has such a go attitude, you know? So it's like, we've seen us go from every deal is super important to like closing. I mean, we close huge 9-month long, 20, 30 person deals in different countries. Yeah. Right? Like, crazy.
We started Dubai like within a year of our operation. You know, I mean, what an amazing learning experience. You know, going into literally building a business out of the sand.
Yeah.
Which a flourishing business at that too. But what an exciting time. We did that. We had Takeover. you know, having thousands of people, well, over 1,000 people come to Toronto, people from all over the world come speak, having the Prime Minister open up the conference for us. I mean, what an amazing time it was. And then, so I'll take the harder part of this was, oh wow, we grew too big too fast, right? Like one of the biggest lessons I think I've learned over the past 5 years is revenue hides all imperfections, right? When things are going up and up and up, everyone just feels like everything's going up and up and up. And so one of the biggest takeaways I take from like being CEO here is actually holding, you know, more accountability, not only on myself, but on our teams, on real actionable goals that make sense. Not everything can just be tied to revenue, you know, and hide those imperfections. How are we going to hold ourselves accountable to find those imperfections as they grow? And so as we, you know, grew too big too fast, I think we're a lot stronger now and a stronger knit team for having learned everything that we've been through. You know, all the way from watching every penny in, every penny out on how that goes, to ourselves holding ourselves accountable on what we do, to refining our cadences so that we continue to reinvent ourselves so that we could serve our clients in a better way, I think are all awesome learnings that would make us a lot stronger now, 5 years later, than where we were 2 years ago when we thought, hey, we're on top of the world and we're unstoppable. That's when the ice breaks under your feet. So I wanted to move on a little bit more, Tina, and I want to just go to you really quick on how do you manage to attract some of the best talent here? I mean, we got Facebook, Google, Shopify, some of these amazing companies that are all hovering around all of our talent here. So I think culture speaks to a lot of it, but like, what are some of the things that you help us do so that we are this close-knit team that it stays motivated to work here?
Yeah, I mean, from a recruitment standpoint, you definitely have to go after those passive candidates and just constantly keep a network of very highly skilled and motivated folks that maybe not necessarily are looking for work, but just keeping that network going. And then, yeah, absolutely. Like I would say the culture at TribalScale is one of the best things that I love about working here. And it's such a great indicator of things like productivity and motivation. I mean, it really makes your work meaningful, right? So it's so important that we have such great culture. So I think that's one of the bigger aspects of working or attracting people to work at TribalScale.
And you make it sound so easy, but you came into this organization with like morale on a downturn and us having our financial issues, and you know, we grew too big too fast. But you know, I'm happy to see that, like, at least our survey scores and then the way people are rating us, you know, we've taken a piece by piece approach, you know, a small bit by bit approach on how we could go solve these macro problems that seem like you can't solve, but we've been able to go solve them.
I definitely can't take full credit for that. I mean, there's so many people that are involved in that. For example, we have like our internal culture committee, the people pathways. So all of those folks are so important to just making sure that we have a great culture and constantly reinnovating or coming up with new and creative ways to celebrate people, anniversaries, you know, all that good stuff. So definitely not.
One thing that makes me get up in the morning, because like, especially during our challenging time, and I say this all the time and people think it's lip service, but like, especially during our challenging time, waking up in the morning going, how am I going to move this mountain when I only got a shovel? And next thing you know, I'm like having a conversation with everybody in the tribe about like, what are the problems of the day? And it's a team-based approach. We all just like put on different hats and we figure out what we need to do and all work at it together and start solving it, which is amazing. Elsa, I wanted to go to you and talk to you about a more recent engagement and how design goes wrong and what do you have to do to course correct it?
Okay, so I'm gonna have to not name this client, which is gonna be really hard for me. Yeah, I think design's tough, right? Because design can be very, very subjective. And so you often find that there can be disagreements between, you know, what the client wants and what we think is best for the user, what they think is best for the user. I find that we work best when we're following our cadences, when we're taking that agile approach, and when we try to work outside of that and fit into how a client might work, things don't go as smoothly. We work a lot better when we're sticking to our cadences, when we're holding ourselves accountable for these different cadences that we're running, like retros, to make sure that we're keeping morale good, that we're making sure that work is easy, that everything is on track and on task, that there is no friction outside of that healthy friction that we were talking about for pair programming. So I think more than anything, when things go wrong for us, it's usually when we step outside of those cadences. So making sure that we stay true to our DNA and the way that we work, I think, is how we're most successful.
I think one of the success stories that came out of that particular incident was that the product manager realized that it's impossible for others to just know what's going on inside his own head.
Yeah.
And actually being able to follow our cadences got a good understanding of like, hey, do you know what? There is a better way to actually have the entire team understand what these objectives are, and so that I don't have to spend as much time as I do now to complete these tasks, right? And that was great feedback coming back from the client, who was resistant in the beginning to do that, but now has come around to say, hey, this actually worked, and this is amazing, and I'm actually going to start incorporating this in my day-to-day life and turn into a cool transformation for that
Yeah,
person.
and I think as well, like from that project in particular, being able to reset, and we actually went back and ran a discovery, kind of mid-cycle of the project to show them that, what we could do and how we could unlock all of those requirements that we didn't have. So being able to do that and having a team that is like really highly skilled at research and being able to go through those requirements and get a good idea of the product that we're building and what the users would want from it was vitally important for us getting that stuff back on track and, really making sure that we can finish this project not only on time, but to the highest quality that we possibly can. We don't want to get to the end of that project and not feel good about the work we're doing, right?
Right. It's important to have that transparent relationship. So when you raise red flags like right away and go, hey, you know what, we're going down the wrong path here. Let's course correct. Yeah. I think that again goes to what Alfie was talking about. That's healthy friction. Like we have healthy friction working with each other. We have healthy friction when we work with our clients. Because again, we're doing this in the best interest of what the product needs to be.
Yeah, sometimes that can be like, I guess, okay, we can probably go around and talk about how different reactions that we get out of that kind of stuff usually, like when we go and say like, oh yeah, you know what, this is the right thing to do, and even sometimes, even if it's against our own interests, like it just shocks people sometimes, but like what like why are you telling me this? But everybody's like, well, this is better for the project and the product and the users ultimately, and then you can probably which one I'm talking about too, probably.
But it happens every day.
It happens a lot.
Jason and I actually have a call right after this taping that we're going to actually have that conversation with the customer, because if we see there's a better way, then we got to like bring that up and have that conversation. Guys, this has been a really tough year, and this pandemic hit us like out of the blue. I remember I was actually away, I was traveling, and I sent an emergency email saying, hey, everyone, please grab your belongings and please head home. We're going to be home for at least 2 weeks. And boy, did I have that wrong. See, like, here we are 8-9 months later. But what have we done as a tribe that has really worked? Because one of the questions I get asked all the time is, how do you find productivity? And I say, hey, you know what? Our productivity is not necessarily measured by the hours we clock in, but it's actually measured by what the outcomes are. And I found that we've actually, hit a stride where things are going really well. So what are some of the things that, our listeners could adapt that we're doing right? So open forum, anybody could jump in.
I guess for me, even just the morning stand-ups, the whole company stand-up, and just getting to see, it's the video chat too, and just being able to see everyone's faces, like in this work from home culture. I love the fact that we can still be in touch that way. And it's mixing it up too. It's like, I think like after about like 2 months, I'd say like, you get bored of things. So if you keep doing the same stuff over and over in terms of like even mixing up stand-ups and themes and having activities, it really goes a long way to just kind of keep changing and spicing things up.
It's pretty cool because we always have somebody different run the stand-up every day, or a different team run it every day. And they all come with their creativity to like surprise us of what's happening first thing in the morning.
That was early too, right? Remember early on, and when this whole started, we actually switched that up because we had essentially Shel running stand-up every morning.
Yeah.
And we switched it up and said, hey, people look bored, man. Like we got to change this up, get people involved because no one's in the building, right? So it was like that was a good change in our processes to get different teams and different people involved in running the stand-up for sure.
Absolutely.
I think it was Matthew Kwong came up with using Discord, and he was just like, hey, guys, maybe we should use Discord. We can try using it because it's a way that you do quickly like bounce around different teams, different rooms, and be present virtually. Which goes back to like the
shoulder tap conversations, right? It's just like boom, jump in, hey, blah 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 blah, jump out. I like just going in Discord working and listening to other people talk. It makes me feel like I'm in the office.
Yeah, which goes back to the point on like the creativity of folks do it. Perhaps like shout out to everyone in the company really for that in one way or another, just trying to figure that out, right? Figure that situation out, try to make it work. We named a few examples, but there are numerous other things that came up, right? Which we either got together on Slack or whatever it is, but ultimately try to collaborate and figure out a solution to whatever problem we're trying to solve.
It's such a good, right, Alfie? It's such a good start to the day. I feel like my day's just not the same if I don't attend stand-up. It's like I'm missing something, like I'm disconnected from everybody because stand-up is actually bringing a ton of value just for my day-to-day too, just to get me started right. Tina, you were about to say something.
Yeah, so a cadence from an HR perspective I've kind of implemented during the pandemic and being virtual is HR check-ins. So it kind of started when I was doing the exit interviews. I thought, hey, I should probably be doing this proactively and kind of do like stay interviews. And then I kind of revamped it and made it into like HR check-ins just so it's a little bit more casual and less intimidating, I guess. So sometimes it could just be like a casual chat, just how's your day going, what project you're working on. And then sometimes it can be a little bit more intricate and, employees, it's a way for employees to feel like they're being heard other than just their manager and their project check-ins. So I think it's really important. And I guess it goes back to just making sure that you're over communicating now that we're, virtual and there's no social interaction. So just increasing every interaction that you can with your staff.
Yeah, for sure. I think us over communicating with each other has been a great thing. Let's just over communicate with each other. And I think the other thing is also like checking our egos at the door and just calling ourselves out when we F up, right? Like we fail all the time and we fail fast all the time and things happen, and just being open and honest about it, being like, hey, I effed up and, let me try to help and solve that situation now has been really good because I see that not only in us working together, but I see that all the way across the tribe. It's like, people throw their hands up right away when they need help or things are going wrong. And so we all just jump in to go and try to solve those problems.
Yeah, I think a good example of that is actually when we first went into lockdown and, a couple of clients ended up pausing their projects, obviously, because they didn't know when they were going to reopen.
We were scared. We were like, oh my God, overnight, like more than 50% of our business has paused.
Yeah. And, the next day it was, the entire tribe jumping in to like help out with biz dev and come up with new exciting ideas on how we could reach out to people, and I think that kind of mentality really sums up like the type of people that we have here at TribalScale. And I think, it was mentioned before, you don't come in as like a product designer and potentially all that's going to be all you're going to do. There are people jumping in all over the place to help out, when there needs to be a Band-Aid.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think like that's what our clients really respect too. Like, even when it comes to the notion of pairing, when you have design pairing with engineering and like just working together, it's like, hey, wait a second, you're having your designer pair or even QA pair with with an engineer. And this whole notion of us pairing together to make sure we get things done in a cohesive way has been really awesome for our process, and our clients love jumping in, doing it with us.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I am the longest standing I'm the longest.
You've been remote the whole time.
But I have been remote the entire time. I actually see people significantly more since the pandemic started than I did before.
Yeah.
Because video calls, if you think way back when to February, they weren't that common. Even, you know, outside of maybe your proposal with a client or something like that, a normal stand-up conversation or a normal, you know, any sort of like dialing in for stand-up or dialing in for any sort of like weekly cadence type of meeting, they were just calls, right? Like, you know, maybe there was a Zoom set up, but no one really used it. You know, and if you were the guy who was remote, you were the only idiot with your screen on, right? So it just was a call, right? Now, when you turn it on, 95% of the people are going to have their camera on, right? So I see people, I interact with people much more now than I ever have. That's number one. Number two, it's very clear now, and people jump off of it because, like, when everyone's in an office, you're not slacking a lot of conversations necessarily. Like, you are, but when it gets into like an in-depth conversation, you just walk over and you have the conversation, which can't happen now. And I think it was a very quick learning on everyone's part to realize that the conversations were getting much longer on Slack and much harder to navigate. Yeah. Because, right, and it was like, it took about a month before I just started saying things like, get off Slack now, right? Even to you, Shel, right? It was like,
you did that to me. You did that to me, I think, earlier today.
Yeah, off Slack, like phone call, right? Like, because, you know, Slack is a great tool.
I guess I'm a bad offender. Tina did that to me too yesterday.
I did. I was just thinking that I did that yesterday. I was like,
yeah. So Shel's not learning, but the rest of us have learned. No, seriously, it's one of those things where that is a lesson learned, that Slack is great up and has limitations, right? And there's a point where you just need to hop on a call or hop on a Zoom and chat with somebody and solve it. So, you know, it's been interesting, but I get to see everyone a lot more, which is cool.
It's awesome. I want to switch gears here a bit, and I'm going to open it up, and like we'll end off on this positive note. But what excites you guys about the future? What excites you? We've made 5 years. What excites you guys about what's going to happen here at TribalScale moving forward?
For me, it's the ultimate reset. I love the fact that we had amazing success in 5 years. We had amazing failures in 5 years. And now we're back on, okay, let's do it again. Not that we're dead, right? We never died. We just shrunk. But now we're back on the trajectory of let's do it again. But we have all the tools to do it the right way, to grow responsibly.
That aren't going to come back again.
Right. And yeah, and it's just like, there's a lot of don't do that's, right? And I'm sure this team's tired of hearing Shel and I say we've done that before. It's the right, like, don't do that again kind of thing. But it's the ultimate learning experience. And we have an opportunity now to grow this business really rapidly over the next year. We have some great people. We have some great clients. And it's exciting to think, hey, we're going to do this the right way. We know what not to do. We're still going to mess up. Everyone's going to mess up, right? But we have some pretty good learnings of what not to do, and you know, you can see Shel and I go, yeah, like whenever something happens, like, I've been there. No, right? Back up. That's not where we want to go step.
I want to fail fast once. I don't want to fail fast again.
Yeah, like that is a landmine. Don't touch that one. We've been there. So that's what excites me, is like we get to do this, continue to do this and do it right. And we know the cadences work. We know that our team can build great stuff. Now we just get to do it right on the other side of it, which is the business side, and grow it properly and grow it smart. And you know, 5 years from now, hopefully there'll be a lot more screens on there. Yeah. People talking, you know?
Yeah, I mean, so we're, you know, to be honest, we're like in, you know, this is unexplored territory. You know, it's like we've got, we're mid-pandemic here. Like, we've got different clients coming to us with different needs. Like, everything has shifted, and just having that excitement of figuring out, like you know, doing things that no one else has had the opportunity to do before, you know, and really try to help solve those problems. So I'm really excited to just to try to keep pushing through and seeing what we can do to help.
Awesome.
But I'm pretty excited about the fact that we might be, you know, a remote only, or, you know, even if we do go back to an office, it's not going to be like a mandatory type thing. That's what we've been playing around with. So that's really interesting. And I think from an HR perspective, I'm just really excited about, you know, tapping into that more international talent. And, you know, that's going to increase our diversity, and, you know, diversity increases creativity. So I'm just really excited for that future aspect of TribalScale. Yeah, that's what I'm excited about.
Cool.
You're going to echo some similar ideas to you that, yeah, it has been quite a journey. And I think with, I guess it's the saying of whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger idea. And just, I guess as an organization has learned and grown so much that, yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm probably just echoing what Rich and Jason Dina said, but yeah, I think with all of that, like renewed wisdom, if I can call it that, and experience.
Yeah, it's like what I say, Alfie, right? It's like that badge of honor that we could actually go up and stand up and wear it proud, being like, yeah, we did mess up and we own our, you know.
People keep focusing on tenure, right? To think about like how long, let's say how old a company is, like a 5-year-old company, let's say. But I think what's worth considering is how that 5 years was spent, and like what kind of a journey that you've gone through within that amount of time, right? Because it's, you know, a 1 year in X is different than another year, which is the same time frame, but if you go through a lot more, you come out different.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I would echo everything that everyone else has said so far, but also, and you guys are probably sick of hearing me say this, I'm obviously a big supporter of universal design. And recently we have gotten a lot of opportunity to work on different social justice platforms and different projects. So I'm thinking like 100K Pledge, which is this really awesome project that we got to work on in lockdown that we never would have gotten the opportunity to work on if this hadn't have happened. The same with some of our other clients, which obviously I'm not going to name on this podcast, but there's like some really cool subject matter that we're just starting to go into around mental health, you know, physical health, wellness, and that's becoming increasingly important now. So I think I'm most excited for those kind of projects and the newer kind of projects to come out of this and see where that innovation takes us, really.
I love it. I'll say this, I'm excited for the next 5 years. I honestly believe that not only are we going to help our clients build amazing digital products, we're going to transform the way they work. But when we talk about like bringing capital efficiency and productivity to every engagement we work with, we're doing anybody who works with TribalScale, we're doing them a favor. And I firmly believe that we're bringing our expertise, our people, our process, our tools to really go knock it out of the park and make our clients shine. And that is something that's really exciting me, that we've taken all these lessons we've learned and we're going to be even that much better now on everything that we work on. And that speaks volumes. That's not easy to come by. And that experience is not easy to come by. And that's a major reason why I think, you know, a lot of our customers do sign up with us and stay with us. Cool. Having said that, I know all you guys had your meeting notifications go off, so I'm going to let you go and do your real jobs. But thank you, everyone, for tuning into First Name Basis. This podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, Google, a whole bunch of different platforms, YouTube. Check it out and subscribe. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.